This is Mark Johnson. I'm coming to you from the 2012 Forrester Customer Experience Forum. I'm sitting with Jeff Nicholson from Pitney Software. Hello, Jeff.
Hello. Good to be with you again.
Yes. Ed, what is the state of marketing today?
Well, it's I would say one of the greatest sea changes that we've seen in a long time, and it is a transition from you think back to the days of product, price, place, promotion. Long gone are those days, because promotion is just a what do I push at you, and the change that's happened started by social, but social isn't the change that I think we need to be talking about. Is that the consumer is now in more control than ever over the messages they choose to receive and how they want to receive them. And the new marketing challenge is not going to be so much what could we send out to that customer, but how do we make the right information available to that customer to influence their behavior in a positive way, in the terms that are right for that consumer.
I think that's absolutely spot on. With the advent of the social, mobile, and other emerging technologies, how do brands effectively engage their audience? Because it's a very challenging and very dynamic marketing environment we're facing today.
Well, I think one of the interesting things about social is that it's a bit of the shiny new object at the moment, isn't it? And it was the .com at one point, now it's social. And it absolutely has transformed the way we go about things. But what it has done is simply place more control into the hands of the consumer as to how they consume information.
Right.
The new challenge, I would argue, is not so much how do we use social in isolation, in silo, again, that shiny new object everyone's focusing on, but the real opportunity is how do we connect the conversations that are happening in social with all these other channels, the traditional channels that we've been using all along, and connect it as a dialogue. I would argue that to your consumer, they don't say that I'm going to go interact with my mobile channel now for my bank. That's not how they think. They're going to say, I'm going to go check my account balance for my bank. They're going to be interacting with you as one entity. They don't distinguish the two. So the real challenge that you're going to have as a business is how do you be one company to that one consumer across the channels and maintain a dialogue, yes, as they move across interactions and touch points, yes, including social.
So with CMOs right now, we believe that it's the most challenging but the most opportune time to be a CMO, and it sounds like you believe the same thing. What are some of the big opportunities for marketers, yet what are some of the big challenges that marketers have right now in the next 3 to 5 years, kind of in the state that we are currently imbued in?
Well, the big transformation that we see happening in the market is a growing recognition that campaign-based push strategies are very transparent to the consumer.
Right.
What may be relevant to you at end of quarter, I need to get my revenue numbers up, got to get these units up, let's send some campaigns out the door, is not the same definition of relevant to the consumer. To the consumer, they may only want to hear a specific message, and they may only want to hear one message from you a month. So what message do you send to them? Kind of outside looking in from a consumer perspective, rather than you looking out from a business perspective.
Right.
An entirely different set of management approaches, as well as directives and enabling technology are going to be required to pull that off.
Well, I think this begs another question too, is brands still today struggle listening to the consumers. You talked about brands being myopic and viewing what they believe the customers have an interest in. So how do you transition a brand into kind of a new paradigm where they're truly listening, not just hearing, but listening and making decisions? You talked about making sure that if a person wants one communication, he's getting one versus 2 to 5 to 10. How do you help brands, or why do brands struggle so much with truly listening and understanding their customers?
A couple reasons. One is simply that it is not a declared management objective. It's said in message, but not in conviction. And it's not pervasive across the organization. And where we see organizations getting very serious about becoming more customer-centric, and more than just a poster on a wall in an office, that's when they start getting the teams together and having serious discussions about how to affect that change. Now, when they do that, I'll share with you, we're seeing that organizations at the same time are not pulling it off overnight. There's a recognition that hits them that says, this is actually going to be quite a journey for us, and we're going to need a lot of buy-in to make this happen. And we're going to have to do it in step changes along the way. And one of the easy things that we're seeing organizations begin with is asking the customer themselves what preferences are right for you, and they're changing their tone when they do that. I'm not sure, you've probably seen a website and a pop-up survey that said, can you fill the survey in?
Yep.
Do you really think they cared about what you think, or were they maybe trying to get your data?
Probably getting more of the data.
Yeah, and consumers are conscious of this now. They recognize that they're just trying to capture data, so they send me more stuff and try to sell me more stuff.
Well, and I think at that point, too, is there's an inherent difference in kind of the irrationality of behavior. What a consumer may tell you through a survey instrument may not necessarily be what they truly feel, think, or end up actually doing. So I think you need to be able to marry the two of those, correct?
Well, exactly right. And in doing that, the thing you need to be looking for is mutual benefit.
Right.
And so in the new strategy for preference management, it's not so much complete the survey. It is help us understand what's important to you, so that we only talk to you about the things that you care about, and we don't talk to you about the things that you don't care about. That's really what's in it for the consumer. You're not wasting their time. And if we do communicate to you, what's the right amount for you? Is it no more than once a week that we should communicate? Once a month? And that raises an entirely different set of challenges for the business. If I can only communicate to you once a month, my gosh, what message do I send you? What's the right message for you at that one point in time?
Absolutely right. Loyalty 360 believes that obviously loyalty is the most important facet to consider in any marketing strategy. Yet how can one create loyalty when so many technologies in the market today are focused on mass acquisition of customers that may or may not be effectively aligned with your product or service offering?
And I'm glad to hear you say that. And I've engaged with a number of organizations recently that are getting really focused on just that specific question. And where this is coming from, there's been a renewed interest in the past couple of years around customer lifetime value.
Yeah.
And organizations, as they take on these analyses, are recognizing that in fact there's quite a big difference between their most valuable customers and their average or even less valuable customers. And in understanding what makes their most valuable customers different from the rest, something kind of hits them in the head. And they're saying, should we really be acquiring just anybody? Or if we got more strategic about that, could we use that same number of funds, or even less, to go out and specifically try and acquire those that are more like my best customers, my greatest lifetime value customers? Can I find more like them and have a more strategic focus on my acquisition strategy? Because intuitively, if you can acquire better customers out of the gate, that'll have greater time to value for you and for the customer, buy more products, stay longer, be happier, be more satisfied. It's a win-win for both parties. And they're recognizing that acquisition has absolutely everything to do with the lifetime value they're going to have later on.
Absolutely. Well, Jeff, thank you very much for your time today.
Great to see you again.
Thanks.